Welcome to Empath 5D Revolution, where sensitive souls are gathering to receive tools, perspectives, and practices for anchoring the light codes during chaotic times. I'm your host, Reverend Dr. Stephanie Redfeather, author of the award-winning, international best-selling book, The Evolutionary Empath and Empath Activation Cards. And in this interview, my special guest is Kaylin Castell. She is the co-founder of Venus Alchemy, My Star Alchemy, and the former Shamanic Astrology Mystery School. In addition to writing monthly celestial timings, one of the first astrology or astronomy e-zines for nearly 3 decades, she enjoys sharing these mysteries through personal readings, her YouTube channel, and teaching both online and in-person events, including the Conscious Life Expo and Astrology Hub. Kaylin's mission is to help change lives and perspectives from the visionary understanding that we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us, because we are the living embodiment of those mysteries. And the subject of her interview today is being a 5D superconductor, creating a coherent field of love. I am already buzzing. Welcome, Kaylin.
Thank you, Stephanie. Always so good to be here with you.
Yes, and I would like to start, for people who don't know you and just kind of want to get a feel for who you are and what you had to overcome and what brought you on this path. Give us the kind of the Reader's Digest condensed version of
Reader's Digest
got
condensed
you
version.
here.
Uh, so two things. A couple things. One is I grew up in a very traumatic family situation, but I was also gifted with parents who were into the Rosicrucians and into Unity Church and into the transcendental meditation, something that I got involved in and went to the college when I was younger. So I felt like even though I had a lot of challenges, um, one of them being that my father told me that I ruined his life by being born over and over. He told me that so many times. And I just recently realized that I still carry some of that, like unconsciously in my being. And I'm becoming more conscious of that now. Uh, and because I've had people tell me that everything's my fault and that basically I ruined their life. It's happened a couple of times in just the last few years, and it's just like, interesting. I must still feel like I still have a little bit of that agreement in my being, and I'm working on transmuting and transforming that. But uh, anyway, very shy, very didn't feel like I belonged or I should be here and have any value or anything. So the getting to the place where I am now has been a long journey, a very long journey. And um, I had 4 children, so that was a focus of my life for many, many years. My oldest is about to turn 43. My twins are just turned 40, and my youngest is turning 35 next month. So done with the parenting of the younger children, now have grandchildren and getting to do that. And I'm getting to see how I feel like, this is such a generational thing. Like my parents were so wounded by their parents who probably were wounded by their parents, and it's like been handed down through the generations. And I knew as a child growing up, I would say to myself under my breath, because I didn't dare say it out loud, that I was not going to treat my children the way I was treated. I knew I was going to have children, although my father would say, just wait till you have children. Like it's the worst thing ever. And I'm like, well, then I'm never having children. And he goes, well, then you're smart. But secretly, I knew I was having children. I did not know I was having four. I thought I was having two, but wound up with four children. And I know I did a better job than my parents, but I didn't know enough because, back in the 80s, 90s when I was raising them, I just didn't have the tools and the knowledge that's available now. But they're all doing their work and transmuting and transforming whatever traumas. And there's the other thing you don't have control over is what their fathers do. So probably a lot of their trauma comes from that, and I had no control over that. And I've just had to allow myself to be okay with that and trust that that was what they chose. And even though I tried to give them a better experience, and I know I did, they still had to work through the things they have to work through. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all highly sensitive, of course.
Right. I appreciate you sharing that because that's the story of so many empaths that we have these gifts and we have these connections and these knowingnesses, and yet we still grow up in dysfunctional families. We still have lineage pieces that we're healing. We still, are the product of so many of his parents who didn't have awarenesses, who hadn't done their work, who were emotionally immature and all of those sorts of things. And so we are, we are just, I think it's a Rumi quote, we're all just here walking each other home.
I love that. I love that quote so much. Yeah. And just to, also something that I didn't know and didn't understand until probably, I think I was getting some counseling in 2004. And the counselor said to me after I had several sessions with her, she goes, "Okay, that does it." Because I was telling her a story. I don't even remember what story it was about my father, but she goes, "He was an extreme." No, let me put it this way, an extreme narcissist. And I was very confused because you seem so normal. And I didn't know it really very much about narcissism at the time. And I started reading some books and seeing how it usually affects people and all the challenges and issues they have. And I was like, but my response to her in the moment was, I've done a lot of work. I didn't, I mean, it was just came out of my mouth. It was just like maybe a higher part of myself, just recognizing that, yeah, I have done a lot of work and I still had a lot to do. I mean, that was just like 21 years ago.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's kind of the secret too, is we don't arrive. We just keep working our stuff, and then there's always more levels and sort of nuances and subtleties that maybe we didn't miss or that maybe we didn't see the first time, and that by doing that work, now it's opening up the space for these more subtle
yeah. And then the
threads.
evolution of understanding as well, because from the perspective of the narcissist, then now they're calling some narcissists empathic narcissists, which was what my father was. I'm sure of it because he had all the markers of, so he was super high sensitive, and he didn't know how to deal with that, and so it came out in not very good ways.
Yeah,
But it's like, oh, you mean a narcissist can be an empath? Like, how is that possible? But I really see that was what I was dealing with.
yeah, yeah. Well, you have been doing a lot of work lately on what you've been calling kind of being a superconductor of love. So, what is that? I'm so into this.
Oh, so thank you so much for asking that. Uh, One of the gifts I got, as I mentioned, was I got into transcendental meditation at the age of 16. I went to the college at the age of 19, Marishi International University in Fairfield, Iowa. And this was back in 1975. And I started taking the classes there. And one of the things they were very much wanting to prove is that through the process of meditation, you can create a super coherent field of consciousness. And I mean, literally, many people listening might know about this. Is I think it was in 1990, they took like 6,000 people, took them to Washington, D.C., and had them do the meditation practice for a month. Crime rates dropped, hospital rates dropped, accident rates dropped, everything shifted and became more coherent. And then they all laughed and it all went back up. So it was like it's called the Marishi Effect, and these are kinds of experiments that are being done. I've heard Greg Braden talking about it. Other people have. I think um, oh, can't think of his name. Another doctor who is in The Secret. Maybe it'll come to me in a moment. But they've been doing all these studies and how when people, especially when people come together, it creates this massive coherent field if they're focused on love or peace or whatever it might be. And they could ch change what was happening in a community, and they only needed less than 1% of the people in the community. So I heard Greg Braden say this recently. He said, so you take a town of 1 million people or a city of 1 million people, you need 100,000 people to have 1%. And then you get n squared of that number, you need 100 people. I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, we have billions of people on the planet. So what would it be? 9,000 people? I don't know, but that are operating in a super coherent field. And for me, the super coherent field is love. If we, so they taught, I learned about superconductive fields and what was happening as they were creating a superconductive field and they were lowering the temperature of whatever it was, as it would get closer and closer to becoming a superconductive field, things would get more and more chaotic, like crazy chaotic. And then suddenly just a few of the electrons would start to come into coherence. And when it reached that n squared number, then everything would shift like that,
Mm.
like in the blink of an eye. And that, that's what they say in the Bible, it can all shift in the blink of an eye. Well, yeah, it really literally can all shift. And then they also found that they could introduce lower vibrational fields or, chaotic fields to the superconductive field, and it couldn't penetrate the field.
Mm.
That superconductive field it would either bypass the field or get uplifted into the field. So with that in mind, I've been thinking, oh, so if I can be a superconductor of love, and in that superconductive field, high vibrational field, anything coming my way is either going to get uplifted into that field or it will have to bypass the field. It can't come in and mess with me kind of idea, like, but
Mm.
I'm not trying to send it back like people might be sending unintentionally can be sending negative energy our way. They're mad about something or they got triggered about something or whatever is happening. So I got very passionate about doing this about 5 years ago of just intentionally creating a superconductive field of love within and around me every day.
Mm.
That and it's just been so good. It's like it helps me to deal with all the chaos in the world that's happening now and not and go, I can do my part. My part is to be as in a loving, caring, kind place as possible. Um, Having the courage and having the compassion to show up and be loving as much as possible.
Yeah.
And yeah, I get triggered now and then, or I get activated now and then.
Yeah. Well, I am a total science geek, so I'm going to have to go do some more research on superconductive states and, the science experiments. But if we, obviously we're drawing from the real science, but we're also taking this metaphorically. And so if you could break it down just a little bit more into how do you actually like what is your process? Are you visualizing something? Are you sensing something? Are you saying something? Like how are you creating and maintaining this field for yourself?
All of the above. Yes, I like to imagine the superconductive field all around me, and I like to extend it out to, the world and to our solar system, universe, multiverse, and across all the dimensions of time and space. So I make it really big, but I start with me because that's where we need to start. And then I have mantras. I'm a superconductor of love is the simplest one. I've added to that because I can. And over time, I was like, first I was saying I'm a superconductor of love, and then I was like, I'm a superconductor of love, light, and joy. And then I added, I'm a superconductor of love, light, joy, and bliss, magic and miracles. And then I added, I'm a superconductor of love, light, joy, bliss, magic, miracles, courage, kindness, compassion. And then I added beauty, acceptance, and pleasure because I realized I needed to do the acceptance piece as well. Because when we're not accepting what is, we're in resistance. We're resisting it in some way, whether it's mentally or not even consciously. And so I really wanted to get into a place of greater acceptance
Mm.
and just allowing it to be what it is, and that all really what I can do is work on me, and I can be in that place of accepting that the world is not what I would really want it to be, but I can accept it for being what it is, and what I can do is work on me. I can just continue to energize the fact that I am a superconductor of love, and that in that I'm adding my energetic consciousness, energy to the collective field of the planet. And if enough of us are doing that, we will change it.
Mhm.
Will change the what's happening. And again, it could happen in the blink of an eye if there's enough of us. So I just keep holding that because the thing is we can go and fight for what we believe or what we think it should be or how it should be, but then we're putting energy into something that we don't want rather than something that we do want. And what I want is to live in a world of love.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a subtle difference. I don't remember who said this, but somebody, famous, definitely a person of world renown who is very much about peace and higher frequencies, who said, "What if you were against nothing and for everything?" Just that basic shift of are you putting your energy into, just like you said, what you don't do, this resist, fight, but it's a subtle shift, but it makes all the difference of what can you do to put your energy into what you want to create. And I think for some of us, honestly, I'm not turning this into a political discussion, but for all of us in the United States and around the world, we're trying to figure out who we want to be, how we
Yes.
want to show up, what
Yes.
we want to create in the face of all of this. And it is challenging. I still struggle with that, right? I'm still struggling with
Same.
the acceptance and who do I want to be and how do I maintain that state?
Yeah, I do too. So sometimes I have to vent.
Absolutely.
My husband and I, we share similar views, so we vent with each other. And then I'm like, okay, now I can let that go and get back to going, okay, clearly there's a larger divine plan at work here that doesn't make any sense to me, and I don't get it. And and I also, because being an empath, being, a sensitive person, we don't want to see harm happening to anyone and to children and to people in their jobs and to whatever it might be that's going on, being deported for, whatever reasons and not reasons or whatever those things are um, that create harm to people. And I feel like, it's in the Emerald Tablets. I think and also in the oath when you become a doctor or, a physician, do no harm, do no harm. And I feel like, how are people missing that? How are we missing not doing harm to others? We don't want to do it to ourselves. We shouldn't be doing it to others. We shouldn't be doing it to ourselves. But a lot of times we are harming ourselves. And, you
Right.
know, yeah,
And it's hard, when we're triggered, we act from our wounds. And so
yeah,
that's why doing our inner work is so important. So for me, I feel like these fall into two different categories. We're doing our inner work. You can call it shadow work, you can call it healing your wounds, childhood work, whatever you want to call it. And also doing the practices to help raise our frequency, to change or adjust what's in our environment, to keep our frequency high, to keep our environment calm and harmonious. And those things help us to expand our ability to hold more light. Would you agree? Would you add to that?
absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. And if we think about my favorite statement being, we inform the mysteries as much as they inform us because we're the embodiment of the mysteries. So the mysteries live through us. And we are in a time of massive change from an astrological point of view. Everything is like resetting to the alpha omega, the omega being the ending point and the alpha being the beginning point. If we look at the zero Aries point, the spring equinox when the sun shifts into Aries, and the 29 Pisces point, the Omega point, the ending of everything. So much has been hanging, so many planets have been hanging out there and will continue to do that into next year. So in a way we could also say this is a time of the great between because we're at the ending and beginning and ending and beginning and ending and beginning. It's like constantly like shifting back and forth so much this year that we're in a between, which is the place of the greatest alchemy in the between place. And so if there was ever a time that if we were going to focus on what it is that we want a world that is founded in love and kindness and caring and compassion and justice for all and all, whatever else we might want to throw onto that, then this is the time.
Yeah.
This is, I've never seen anything like it. It's just so amazing. Interestingly, because Saturn and Neptune, Saturn being a 30-year cycle, Neptune being a 165-year cycle, both entering the zero Aries point. Neptune already has, Saturn's going to in about a month and a half. And then they're kind of dancing very closely, going back into Pisces, back into Aries, crossing that zero Aries point 3 times,
Mhm.
coming together at that zero Aries point in February 20th of 2025, 2026, sorry, 2026. And that hasn't happened in thousands of years.
Mhm.
Thousands of years. The last time it was anywhere close was like 555 AD, and it was at 6 degrees,
Mhm.
Aries, that they came that close together to the, it just doesn't happen that often. And so this is basically telling us we are in a very rare moment. And if we're going to inform the mysteries, we're being informed by them, that we are in this point when we can start something new. And Neptune being the formless, the dreams, the visions, the possibilities, Saturn being the thing that brings things into form. So we could have this opportunity to bring the formless into form. What is it that we want to bring into form? That is our opportunity. And it's such a powerful activation that's taking place and it's already happening. It's going to continue to be happening at least into next year. And beyond that. I mean, there's so many other things. That's just one factor of many, many factors, but it's to me the biggest indicator that, it's informing us that this is the time and that we can step up and we can help by how we are desiring to go forward. And ideally from a place of love, because also Neptune is about universal love and our pure, pure source energy, pure love. So this is the time.
Yeah. And one of the things I have to remind myself that I choose to remind myself that helps me kind of back out to the bigger picture is I chose and all of us chose to come into a body at the time that we did to be present in whatever body we're in, male or female, in whatever country we were born into, or whatever country we currently live in, at this time. We came here on purpose for a reason.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is profound. And for some people that may be like, that's too big. I can't go there. But for me, when I'm lost in my own stuff, I go to that bigger picture perspective because it helps me locate myself inside of what's going on. And that gives me a feeling of purpose. There's a reason. It's not just random. It's not, you know what I mean? It's so easy
Right.
to sort of get mired in our own what's happening right here.
Yeah, right. I love that you're saying this because it reminds me of there was a somebody high up in the Transcendental Meditation movement that was more on the spiritual side of things, more the metaphysical side of things, whereas a lot of the things they taught at the school and the whole meditation thing was very much about the science. They were like wanting to prove that this stuff really works and how it brings the brain into coherence and da 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 da. Well, I heard him give a talk back in 1975, 50 years ago. I was just a kid and 19, I think, at the time. And so he was saying that if we are not valuing our life and the fact that we're here now at this time, there are thousands and millions and maybe even more than that souls that are wanting to be here now. They're lined up to get here. And if you're not valuing what you have been given at this time to be here, a witness to this shift and this change, of course, I was like, I didn't think it was going to take 50 years, but hey. Anyway, his analogy was you've sold diamonds for spinach, meaning you have no idea what a gift you've been given to be here
Wow.
at this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I want to keep reminding myself of that and remembering that because there's times where it's like, please, can you just take me out because I can't do this anymore. This
Yeah.
is way too hard, way too hard. But now I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, thank you for not taking me out when I asked for that. Because my life is better than it's ever been. But it took a while to get here.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I'd like to go back to something you mentioned, and I want to expound on it a little more, and feel free to say more about it. The part of um, working with whatever the substance was that they were turning into, a superconducting substance, and that it would get more chaotic before it would go into coherence. I really want to pull that out and emphasize that point, because I think metaphorically it is 100% relevant right now.
Yeah. I know. And I remember thinking, like, I learned that back in the 70s. And then, so as things been chaotic at different times since then, I was thinking, oh, look, it's getting more chaotic. And then I think, well, maybe this is like the leading into the shift, and then it would just get more chaotic. So I don't know, and I don't know that we know. I think in when you're creating a superconductive field intentionally, it can happen a little more quickly. Um, but how long is the chaos happening before the coherence takes place? If it's like, takes an hour to create a superconductive field, I'm just making that number up. I have no idea. But and then the chaos gets more and more intense, and it's in the last few seconds that it comes into coherence. How long is that chaos really revving up? And how is that related to, we're living in a different realm, I guess you could say, as humans here on planet Earth. And so the chaos, yeah, there may still be more chaos that's coming. I have no idea. But I do feel like we're getting closer, and more people. Like if I had tried to talk about this back in the 70s or 80s or 90s even, people would have just kind of rolled their eyes and gone, "Oh God, she's a little crazy or something." But now everybody's listening, and I just did a whole thing on becoming superconductors of love. I was in a women's circle back in 2019, and I was talking about being a superconductor of love, and they were just like, all of them, everybody was like 60 women in the room, and they were just like, we're signing up for that. So it's like there's this tsunami or this energy that's building around this. It's taking, it's like it's going to take the time it takes, but at the same time, I feel like we're closer than we've ever been.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And let me figure out how I want to say this. I've sort of been jokingly saying, we can't play at this anymore. But I think what it really means is the times that we are living in are calling us into clarity, into commitment, right? We can't, it's like we can dip our toe in, oh, I'm going to play with Reiki a little bit. Oh, I'm going to play with meditation a little bit. Oh, but it's when chaotic, traumatic, massive things happen in our lives that cause us to be like, okay, I have to make a decision here. And I think these times are calling us into answering the question, who are you? Who do you want to be? What are you committing to?
Yes. And I love that you said that because the Aries piece, Aries is the archetypal energy that is most about being committed to a cause, to a noble cause. Ideally, I mean, there's the shadow side of all the archetypal energies, but conquering and, let me just rule you and take over and whatever. But that's not the essence of what that archetypal energy is about. It's really about cosmic justice and restoring the balance. And as my daughter, who is a triple Aries, says, Aries protects what it loves.
Yeah.
That's what it's here to do. And I
I
was like, oh, that's a good insight.
an Aries, so I'm very, very familiar with the positive qualities and the unhealthy
Yeah,
qualities.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. I have Venus in Aries, but I'm a Pisces sun with Neptune opposite. So it's more Piscean, tends to be more Piscean than Aries like. But in recent years, I've been starting to be able to to bring that Aries part more alive. And I am committed to this cause of being a superconductor of love. That is my
Hmm.
noble cause at this time.
Yes.
And I will do what it takes. And that's really what Aries is all about, is like making the commitment and then following through, not just saying, "Oh yeah, I'm going to do that," and then
Right.
kind of. about it and doing other things. But yeah.
Well, in my experience of you, for people who don't know, we are priestesses in the same lineage. We've known each other for a long, long time. And so, in my experience over the years with you, Kaylin, you are so exceptional at creating, just like you shared a little bit ago, affirmation statements, intention statements. And so, I'd love for you to kind of offer as a teaching what you do as a practice and whatever wants to come through, but something that people can sort of immediately take and go, oh yeah, I want to do that in my life.
I feel like for me, one of the ones that I can do every day, some of them I write down and they're really great, but I have to read them because I don't remember them. But I try to create ones that I can remember and that rhyme because the rhythm and the rhyme helps me with that. So I and working with the violet flame, which I started doing in my 20s. I started reading the books about the violet flame, and there was a some they had some decrees like what you could do to violet flame decrees, and I will make sure that this is available on my free offer page if people are interested in that. But the violet flame is the energy that helps to uplift everything into that higher vibrational field, and so and Saint Germain is the one that was really bringing through that information. And I think I got my first book on that back in the late 70s, early 80s. And so it's been a while that I've been attuned to this. And I took some of their decrees, and like one is the one that I do is I'm a being of violet fire. I'm the love the light inspires. I'm a being of violet fire. I'm the love the light inspires. So I like to do that one. And then I was also took that and took it a little further. And then I would just say, thank you, Saint Germain, for the transmuting power of the violet flame. I offer up all my hurt and pain, guilt and shame, fear and blame, whine and complain, defend and explain, self-doubt, self-judgment, self-criticism, doubt, judgment, and criticism of others into the violet flame to be transmuted and transformed into the higher vibrational energies of love and above so that I am a superconductor of love. And
Mm.
then I fit things onto that. But it's like when I have the rhyming aspect, and I will also post that on the free offer page if people want to do that because it's easy to remember once you like you get. I was like, I needed it to rhyme with flame. So guilt and pain, or guilt and shame, fear and blame, whine and complain, defend and explain. It's like all of those things rhyme with flame. And so that helped me to be able to remember it. And so I do that every day. And that's helped. And I realize that it needs to be a daily practice because it's probably eons of time, and not only just my own guilt and shame and fear and blame and whine and complain, but for the generations that we represent for many, many generations. So I just love to do that. Plus, it's kind of fun to say.
And I would love to offer on top of that, if people want to sort of marry what I'm about to say with the affirmations that you shared. I'm not a morning person. I don't wake up happy and refreshed and like I'm still in that liminal state. Takes me a little while to come online. And so extensive spiritual practice in the morning doesn't work for me. But what I have been experimenting with since the fall is I get up, I sit on my edge of the bed, and I look out the window, and I have this little bowl with cards that just have simple statements on them so that I can intentionally create my day and not just sort of fall into my day with whatever mental state I'm in, right? To check in with myself, to set intentions, to ask myself questions like, how do you feel? How do you want to feel? Right? What do you need to do to care for your body today? What do you need to do to keep your vibration high today? And so spiritual practice doesn't have to be hours and hours and this big production.
Right. I love what you're saying. And so it's inspiring me to share some of the other things that I do. So even before I get out of bed, I'm laying in bed. I have a little toning apps that I can tone to so I can tone my affirmations. And hawing, that activates the vagus nerve and activates the oxytocin. And then I also shake my body while I'm laying there, while I'm doing this for maybe I don't know, sometimes 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes. It just depends on how much time I feel like I have. But what's great about it is it really sends a rush of energy through your whole body when you do that, when you add the movement in with it. And so it feels like, so then it's like my brain goes, oh, look, you're really doing something. And I like the sound. It's like I'm not very good at creating a tone myself. So if I have a tone that I can tone to, then I can do that very easily. And I pick different ones at different times depending on my mood or whatever's going on. But that has just it's been so good. It's like I feel so good when I get up, and then I also will ask questions like you were saying, like what do I, you know, one of my favorite stories is that I was doing some ancestral clearing work, and I was feeling like I wasn't getting anywhere. And so I got up, as I was getting up in the morning, one morning, this was a few years ago, I asked, could you just like send me a sign that lets me know I'm on track with this? Because I feel like I'm not getting anywhere. And I live in the desert, the Sonoran Desert, Tucson, Arizona. And I go for my morning walk and I see a Gila monster, which is the most ancient creature of the desert. I was like, great. And they're very rare to see. They're only above ground, maybe 3% of the time. The rest of the time they're underground. So, and I've seen lots of them. So they tend to be my medicine animal. But when I ask for something and then they appear, then I'm like, okay, thank you. I'm on track. I know I'm on track. So these are other things that we can ask for. And hopefully, if you don't get a sign, then keep asking. Because then maybe there's something you need to see or do or add to whatever it is that you've been doing. Um, and then hopefully the universe will send you a sign. And that helps you trust the process.
And then there's another piece that I want to emphasize that I know is important to you that you work on as well, and that is, asking for what we desire, setting our intentions, being intentional about it, but doing it without attachment to how it manifests. That's the kicker right there.
So important, yes. And often what I like to remind myself and others who are going through something and they might have an attachment to how they think that they want it to work out is that if you just let it unfold, it's happening for you so that you can get to what the thing that's going to be the most amazing thing that you maybe haven't even imagined yet. And this has happened to me so many times in my life where it's like I really wanted to hang on to something and have it be a certain way and fix it, make it better, make it be different. I don't know. And then when I finally let go and let it all dissolve and end, what was on the other side was so much better than anything I could have imagined.
Yeah. And the way I think of it too is opening our gaze to take in the entire field, right? Because if there's a certain thing we want and we're looking for it through this channel right here, and this is the only place we're looking for it, and it's coming from over here, we're going to totally miss it, So if we can widen our field, it makes it easier. And I'm saying this for me as much as for everybody else.
I love that too because that's so true. I was just reminding my oldest son about that in a situation he's going through, and I said, I'm not trying to help support you. I just sending him supportive energy. I'm not attached to how this manifests for you because I know that it's going to manifest in the best way possible, and it might not be what you think. And he goes, thank you so much for saying that to me because he was immediately then able to let go of his attachment of what he thought it should look like. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That just happened yesterday.
Yeah, and I mean that's part I think part of the practice of learning to be a walker between the worlds, right? We are 3D and 5D simultaneously, and that in and of itself is an accelerated advanced masterclass. Forget relationship, job, financial management, whatever else you're worrying about in your life, just being in the 3D and 5D simultaneously is a full-time job.
And it's not a place we've ever necessarily generations past have ever been before. So this is new territory. And I was like, oh, now how do I navigate this? Yeah.
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 So I want to make sure you get an opportunity to talk a little bit more about your free gift. And you've actually talked about a couple of different things. So there's a guided shamanic star journey. You've talked about the violet flame. So just let people know what it is that you're offering for them.
There's a guided star journey that, and this is a way for people to start becoming more in touch. The idea is that the sky and the earth are interconnected. They're interrelated. And ancient cultures used to have a very strong relationship with the sky, and we lost that. And that was in some ways purposely done because it can have more control over people if they don't know what the hell's going on and tell them what to do and that sort of thing. So, but ancient cultures spent a lot of time out under the sky and they had a very strong relationship. In fact, I just saw something a few weeks ago and it was talking about a tribe in Africa, and there was a white man. I think he might have been from the UK, but I'm not 100% sure. Who was like a geologist, or he was doing studies and so on. And the tribal people were asking him about hearing the stars, and he's like, "I don't hear the stars. I don't know what you're talking about." And they said, "Wait, you don't hear the stars? They're not talking to you?" And it's like, "How are you alive?"
Mm.
It's like, so we need to get this back. This is something that is so important for us to reconnect because they are probably talking to us all the time. And I've had different experiences of that, maybe not in the way that these tribal people were talking about, but how do we tune in? How do we get reconnected with the star beings and their wisdom and and especially in this wildly crazy time when it makes no sense, that could be something that helps us to ground and to stay more centered and realize that there's a bigger thing at play here. That whatever this small 3D reality thing we're going through is it seems crazy and wild and chaotic. There's so much more than that. And if we can remember to tune in and go out and be under the sky and see Venus in the morning sky where she is right now, see Jupiter and Mars in the evening sky and then see what planets are near them. I mean, not planets, they're the planets, the stars that are near them and how they're helping to transmit um, to the earth based on that and tune in and just see what messages might there be for you. But anyway, this guided star journey helps you do that. Helps you start having a way to tune in to the bigger uh thing that's going on, that magical connection that's between the earth and the sky that ancient cultures totally knew about. They built their standing stone circles, their pyramids, their petroglyph sites, their chambered cairns, their temple sites in alignment with star risings and different times of the year and certain seasons and all kinds of, they were so attuned and how do we get that back?
Right.
So the
Beautiful.
place to start.
Beautiful. So you can find all of Kaylin's free gifts on her speaker page on the Summit website. And so, Kaylin, what is a final thought that you would like to leave everyone with?
I just am so excited for the time we're in, even though it feels like such a mess. The chaos is crazy. But I think the Greeks are the ones that said, out of chaos comes the world, or out of chaos comes order. And so the chaos has to happen in order for us to get to the new place that we're going. And so if we can trust that, if we can just allow ourselves to trust that, that's what's going on, and not get too caught up in the chaos and too freaked out, then I think that we come together in the place of love and we change it all very quickly.
Beautiful, beautiful. Kaylin, thank you so much for bringing your wisdom